Welcome back to another episode of Remarks with Republicans. I'm Colin Weber, and today we're sitting down with Illinois State Senator Neil Anderson, firefighter, family-run, and a strong conservative voice for the 47th District. We're going to talk about his path from the firehouse to the State House, the issues he's most passionate about in Springfield, Illinois, and, of course, we'll wrap things up with a fast-paced lightning round to get to know him a little better. Let's jump right on in.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, Yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Remarks with Republicans is starting right now. What inspired you to run for the Illinois Senate?
It's a great question, Colin. So at the time, Bobby Schilling was the congressman at the time, and I worked with Bobby's brother-in-law in the fire department. And Bobby and I shared a lot of the same views. So when he came up for re-election, I went to him and I'm like, "Hey, Bobby," I was like, "How can I help you?" And he said, "You know what? We need more good conservatives to run for office." He said, "Instead of helping me, why don't you run for office and I'll help you?" So he's the one that kind of got me going and inspired me to run.
What's the toughest decision you've had to make in public office?
And those decisions, they come every day when we're in session. I would say probably, man, that's a really tough question, Colin. Let me think about that for a second. I think decisions generally on how we spend taxpayer dollars. Sometimes it's a hard decision to make because whenever you're in public office, generally speaking, half the people aren't going to like your decision, and half the people are. So in those scenarios where it's kind of a split between people that you represent, sometimes you got to kind of search deep and figure out what's best for the people.
Favorite part of representing the 47th District?
My favorite part is how rural it is. I grew up on a farm, and so representing an area that is full of agriculture and full of hardworking people, it's kind of how I grew up and kind of how I like it. I represent the largest Senate district in the state of Illinois, and that's because geographically, the Senate districts are made up by amount of voters. So that's when you go to Chicago, they're really small because there's so many people, and mine's really big because there's not a lot of people because it's a lot of farm direct. Yeah, so I really like it.
Least favorite part of politics?
Least favorite part of politics? When you get in a really competitive race, sometimes things get personal. And that's the part I don't like about politics is the personal attacks, especially when they're blatantly untrue.
What's one job you had before politics that really shaped who you are?
So I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't know about me is I'm still a professional fireman, and that's kind of shaped who I am because I see every day people probably on their worst day, right? Because when they call me, when they call the fire department, it's probably the worst day of their life. Either something's on fire or somebody's sick or injured. So having that perspective of different cultures and different economic groups of people that I see every day on the fire department, that helps me be a good legislator.
Coffee or tea to get through a long day in Springfield?
Coffee, 100%.
What's your go-to comfort food after a long session?
Eat potatoes.
If you had 60 seconds to pitch your top legislative goal, what would you say?
60 seconds. I would say really having to focus on not only my personal feeling, but based on my district. Economic growth has to be a part of our legislation as we go forward because Illinois has a lot of debt and we have a lot of issues, financial issues, and the only way we're going to get out of those is with some reforms, and on top of those reforms is economic growth. We have to stop taxing people and we have to grow our way out of the problem. And growing our way out of the problem has to be centered around agriculture, because agriculture is the number one economic driver in the state of Illinois.
So we really have to focus on building up our agriculture.
Which bill you've sponsored are you most proud of?
That's a good question too, Colin. I've done a lot of pieces of legislation. I think my very first piece of legislation I passed probably means the most. Not only was it an important piece of legislation, but it was my first one. So the very first bill I passed was a law that says veterans coming back from combat overseas, they get their first year's license plate fees waived. Because these guys are coming back from war and they're trying to assimilate back into civilian life and trying to find a job. So the last thing they need to worry about is paying for their license plate on their car.
Which committee assignment challenges you the most?
That is an easy one. I am the minority chair of the executive committee, and that is definitely the most challenging because the executive committee is where every really controversial bill, that's the committee that those bills go to. So that's a tough one.
If you could change one Illinois law today, what would it be?
Taxes. I would eliminate income taxes.
What's one bipartisan issue you think can actually get traction this year?
So, we've actually been working for a couple years. Myself and some other Republicans have been working with Senator Dave Kaler, who's a Democrat from the Peoria area, on the farming estate tax. That's something that I think we're really close to get done. It's not perfect by any means, but I think it's something that we can get done this coming year.
How do we keep young people from leaving Illinois?
Yeah, I think the best way that we can keep people here is we have to change our regulation and taxation policy. It's so easy, especially where we live. We live right on the Iowa and Missouri border. Yep. So it's easy for people to see the difference every day, right? They see the gas prices here, and then they go right across the river and they see the big difference, right? Yeah. So I think we need to change our regulation and taxation policy and make sure we're being competitive with our surrounding states.
What's the biggest hurdle to attracting new businesses here?
I think the biggest hurdle when it comes to businesses, I think everybody would say taxes. Talking to business owner, it's one of the biggest things that I hear all the time is the work comp policies that we have. I think if we can adjust some of our work comp laws, I think we can attract a lot more businesses here to do it, because that's one thing that no matter what other states do, they can't compete with us is our location. I mean, we got rail, river, roads all right here in the center of America, and we are a hub logistically. So if we can just adjust our regulation a little bit, we're going to bring a lot of businesses to Illinois.
Where should Illinois cut spending first? I
think the first place we cut spending is stop spending money on illegal immigrants. I think we have to take care of our own people first. And then I think we should get rid of pensions and all the kind of fringe benefits that legislators get. This is not a career. Pensions are for people that do a career. Legislators' job is a service. So yeah, I think we could start with those two spots.
What's your stance on Illinois' current tax structure?
I don't like it. Yeah, I think I will say the one good thing about our tax structure is we're still, despite some efforts here in the last few years from the other side of the aisle, we've remained a flat income tax state. So that's good. But all the little taxes add up: motor fuel tax, the income tax, the estate tax. All those things add up, and when you compare apples to apples from a different state, one of the worst tax states in America. So it goes back to what I said before. I think we just need to really address how we tax and how much we tax.
How should Illinois handle the growing energy and utility challenges?
That's a really good question. So I've sat on the energy committee since I've been in office, and unfortunately we have an administration that's made a really big push for this clean energy like wind and solar. which wind and solar is fine if you're putting it on your house or a farmer's putting it up to run some of his grain bins or something. But as a baseload power source to run multiple, homes, it doesn't work. And I think we need to open back up coal, natural gas, and build more nuclear plants.
What's one infrastructure priority for downstate Illinois?
It's for down here, it's our roads. Our roads have been neglected for a long time, and we have the money in the fund. We just have to make sure that they're prioritizing us here in downstate rather than Chicago.
What does being a Republican in Illinois mean to you?
So I'm a conservative first and a Republican second. I think being a Republican is the way to hold up conservative values. Sometimes some people, sometimes the party doesn't always do that. But being a conservative is what our country was founded on, and property rights and no taxation without representation. So being a conservative is all about supporting the hardworking people.
What's your top public safety priority?
So right now, that's a great question too, Colin. As a professional firefighter and representing a very rural area, the biggest problem we have all over the state, but especially here where we live in West Central Illinois, is the lack of volunteers that we have for our volunteer fire services and money to pay our private ambulance services that cover these rural areas. That's becoming a bigger and bigger problem, and public safety has to be a priority, and that's one thing that we're working on very hard.
School choice, yes or no?
Yes.
Stronger ethics laws in Springfield, necessary or overregulated?
So we can always use more ethics laws. The problem is that no matter how many ethics laws you put forward, somebody's going to figure out a way around it. So what I've always said is we need more moral reform, and that lies in the hands of the voters. The difference between morals and ethics is an ethical man knows it's wrong to cheat on his taxes. Moral man doesn't, right? So we need more people that are moral in office, and that, like I said, that comes down to voters.
If you could deliver one message to Illinois conservatives, what would it be?
Keep fighting.
What's the most common concern you hear from your constituents?
The most common concern I hear all the time is taxes. Taxes and the overregulation, especially when it comes to our Second Amendment.
One local project you're fighting to fund.
Yeah, so we just got a grant done in Aledo for a new aquatic center, and there's a lot of little things throughout the district that we constantly work on, get the new bridges, new roads. Infrastructure is the biggest thing in our district that I think people want.
Rural broadband or road repair, if you could only pick one.
I think a couple of years ago that would have been a tougher question, and here's why I say that, is because I think roads, I would say roads right now are way more important and not broadband, because we're seeing a huge change in technology with things like Starlink. So I don't think we're needing broadband as much anymore, because a lot of these rural areas that don't have broadband, they're able to get access more and more easily, and with a lot better technology with things like Starlink. So spending the money on broadband in the long term, I think we're much better off spending it on roads.
What's your favorite community event in the 47th district?
It'll make some people upset if I pick one. Gosh, there's so many good ones. There's multiple car shows. The fairs are fantastic. I eat too much fair food. Yeah, Abate has a great event that's coming up here next month at Knox County Fairgrounds. That's always fun. It's a barbecue contest, and I get to be a judge. So, all my favorite things around eating.
Cubs or Cardinals?
Cubs.
Chicago style or thin crust pizza?
Oh, Chicago style.
Summer in Illinois or winter in Illinois?
Winter in Illinois.
Favorite Illinois landmark?
It's the state capitol. We have one of the most beautiful state capitals in the country.
Who's your political role model?
I would say former Congressman and Lieutenant Colonel Allen West.
Book or podcast you've recently enjoyed?
I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan.
Barbecue or steak?
Oh, that's the toughest question. Yeah. I gotta say steak.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Favorite place to unwind in the district?
You know, I'm not just saying this, and I've said it multiple times and it's got me in trouble a couple times. Hancock County is my favorite county. And it's because all my extended family is from northeast Nebraska.
Yeah.
I grew up in rural quad cities.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, always going back to Nebraska to visit family for holidays. I'd go back in the summers. My grandpa was a large animal veterinarian, and I worked with him. Hancock County reminds me of northeast Nebraska, and it just reminds me of home.
Thanks for speaking with me.
Thanks, Colin.